test, test, test. Okay, here. Hello? Oh, what? Now,
Check. You got it? I hear it. You know, Indian.
Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing This Little Light of Mine, which is number 118 in your gray hymnal. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it seated. Good morning. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF as we like to say. I'm Reverend Jacqueline Brett, the lead minister here, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identity, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here in beloved community with us. And if you are visiting online, we invite you to enter your name into the chat right now. And for those of you who are visiting in this space, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Welcome to all of you. We are so glad that you've chosen to spend this Sunday morning with us. And for those of you with children, your children are most welcome to participate in our religious education program, which begins right after the time for all ages. We'll sing the children out, and if you want your children to participate, just follow the crowd, and our RE folks will tell you how to get your kids signed in. And there's also a class for adults called Inquirers for visitors and newcomers, and that takes place right in the building next door directly after the service, and it allows you to get to know a little bit about us and tell us a little bit about you as much as you'd like. So now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you have on your person. And this morning, we are glad to have the chalice singers with us this morning for music, led by Jacqueline Neal and Pam. Where's Pam? Oh, Pam DiLavore. Pam DiLavore. And our sound team today is Kathy Valenti, and Kathy is being shadowed by two people, one of whom is a youth, Gavin Trump, as well as King Sage. And so we're glad to have them shadowing in the sound team. And as I've said, we need help with the sound team and the tech team. So if you're interested, let us know. Our live stream, the person managing the live stream this morning is Michelle Sager, and John Fellheim is running our camera. And so with that, let us center ourselves into this time and this place. And let's all together take a deep breath in and let it out. And let us begin our worship.
Ooh, I believe in the power. Thank you so much, Chalice Singers. That was wonderful. Thank you. And I also neglected, you know how when you're doing something and you realize, I think you all probably observed me going through a mental thing. I was trying to remember what I had forgotten, and what I had forgotten was that we have a guest vocalist this morning, Michael Hanna. Michael, thank you so much. I apologize. So our opening words this morning are called "We Come with a Dream," and it's from the Soul Matters team. We come bound by the threads of a dream of all on a journey together, side by side, none of us above or below, less or more or forgotten.
A dream that more is possible, even more than we have yet imagined. A dream of kindness and connection that softens and turns us toward each other with tenderness.
A dream of courage and commitment that will enable us to stay the course and admit where we have gone astray.
May this vision comfort and challenge. May it weave us together and never let us go until the dream is made real.
It's you.
As we kindle this flame of our faith, may we remember that vision is a choice. In every moment we look forward or behind, to the hopeful horizon or the hard road at our feet, to those already in the circle or those who have been shut out.
We return today to remember that we become the vision we embrace. May we choose wisely and with courage. So let us now sing together. Wendy will lead us and the words will be on the screen.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing When the Spirit Says Do, number 1024 in your teal hymnal. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance. Oh Lord, you gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you gotta laugh. Oh Lord, you gotta laugh when the Spirit says laugh. 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 You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do. Please turn and greet your neighbor.
Going for the same space. Good morning, welcome. It is time for the Time for All Ages. I am welcoming our smallest people and our mediumest people and our biggest people and even the adults who are children at heart to come on down and join us. Finding our way down here. Good morning. Good morning to those of you who are very awake. Good morning to those of you who are still asleep. Good morning to those of you who are somewhere in between and maybe only had one cup of coffee. Welcoming, welcoming. Oh, if you are sitting here, let's scoot in just a little because we've got some people who are traveling down to join us. There we go. We've got some people who are traveling in from over here. Welcome on down. Excellent. Oh my gosh, you are right here. Good morning. It's great. All right. Well, we have a little story today about, well, some of it's about change. Some of it's about change, and change can be scary and frightening and terrifying, but it can also be exciting and wonderful and creative. Yes? You know this book? Oh, that's excellent. Now we're not going to give away any spoilers, right? We want to let everybody be surprised, right? But you know what's coming, right? Right? You know what's coming? Okay. All right, so this story is Perfect Square. What is the shape of this book? It is a square indeed. And this story is about a square, yeah? It's true. All squares are rectangles, but indeed all rectangles are not squares. Very, very accurate. You are very correct. We laugh because we know it's true.
Wait, no. You have a square. The book logo is a square, but the book open is a rectangle.
Oh my gosh. See, they're adding to the story already. Y'all are adding to the story. All right, here we go. It was a perfect square. It had 4 matching corners and 4 equal sides. And it was perfectly happy. Nothing wrong with being a square. It's great being a square. And also, but on Monday, the square was cut into pieces and poked full of holes. It wasn't perfectly square anymore. Oh no. Little diamond face. Whatever shall we do? No, it is kind of strips too. So it made itself into a fountain that babbled and giggled and clapped. I think it'd be fun to be a fountain. Yeah. On Tuesday, the square was torn into scraps. Scandalo. So it made itself into a garden. Beautiful flowers. A piece of pepperoni, maybe. A piece of pepperoni is also excellent. Or a piece of vegan pepperoni for some of us. On Wednesday, the square was shredded into strips. So it made itself, yes, into a park. Into a park. Nice little park, too. Oh, you're clapping already. I like it. On Thursday, the square was shattered. So, it made itself into a bridge. Very interesting. I think that's a pretty bridge, personally. That's a good question. It's a very creative square. On Friday, the square was snipped into ribbons. Snipped into ribbons. Kind of reminds me of crinkle cut fries. You can tell where my brain's at. So it made itself into a river. Great question. Creativity. On Saturday, the square was crumpled and ripped and wrinkled.
It's like our skin when we get wrinkled in the water.
When we get wrinkled in the water, indeed. Too much time watering. So it made itself into a mountain. On Sunday, the square waited to see what was next. It waited and waited. Nothing happened. Its four equal sides were confining. Its four matching corners were rigid and cramped. All this creativity. So, it made itself into a window. Also square, but a new way of being square, right?
It's like a rainbow window with stained glass.
Mm-hmm. And it looked out on a mountain that gave birth to a river that was crossed by a bridge that led to a park that was home to a garden that had at its center a fountain that babbled and giggled and clapped. And now, my friends, Ari has just begun, and I invite you to proceed forward and be creative. I wish I got to follow you today, but I stay in here with everybody else. Maybe I will later afterwards. Wonderful to see you. Now in peace, go now in peace.
Hello, friends. My name is Pam DiLavore, and I am here to say installation, celebration, exaltation. By now, I'm I'm sure you've heard that next weekend will be our opportunity to formally install our own Reverend Jacqueline Brett as our lead minister here at ERUUF. Last week, Nancy Henley was here to tell us about the significance and the importance of this event. Today, I am here to talk about the fun. So we are going to begin the weekend on Friday evening at 7 o'clock in the fellowship hall with a poetry slam. We have a whole list of people who are planning to read poems. They might be original, they might not be, but please come and join us. On Saturday morning, we have an environmental justice service project. Our own Betsy Bickle is coordinating with Keep Durham Beautiful. We're going to meet at Forest Hills Park from 10 to 12 to clean up the stream in the park that is known as the Lungs of Durham. If you have not RSVP'd to this event and you would like to go, please let Betsy know. Her email address is in the e-news. And if you'd like to help plant some trees, go at 9 o'clock. In the afternoon, we're going to have a panel discussion right here on this chancel floor with some of the leading lights of our Unitarian Universalist Association. We will have the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, we will have Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and we will have the Reverend Sophia Betancourt. And this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to learn about some of the ideas and the movements that are going on within the UUA. On Sunday, we have the main event at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the installation service. It's going to be a joyful event. I would just like to say about that, we have a lot of people who are going to be here in this sanctuary. Everybody will be wearing a mask, but we are going to be sitting very close to each other for about 2 hours, so please keep that in mind as you decide your comfort level if you'd like to attend in person or watch on the live stream. Following the service at 6 o'clock in the evening, we will be having a reception. We're going to start off with a light dinner that will be served both in the fellowship hall and in the commons room. And following dinner, we will have the dance music of DJ Fats in Fellowship Hall, and we hope everybody will come and dance the night away. I would just like to see a show of hands of everybody here who has already volunteered or who has signed up to volunteer to help make this entire event happen. Look at that. We are all together creating this event. Yes, thank you. So friends, I look forward to seeing you next weekend. Installation, celebration with exultation.
Good morning. This morning when Reverend Jim rang the bell, I had a little impromptu lesson on transformation. As many of you know, our bell is a weapon of war that's been transformed to a call to worship. But it needs a little love tap in order to ring out. It just reminded me that, like most of us who are in the process of transformation, we need to be reminded that transformation is not a singular event, it's a journey. So I want you to join me this morning in the continuation of that journey. Recently had the pleasure of participating in 3 of the World Cafe sessions sponsored by the ERUUF Board of Trustees. Reverend Jacqueline will be talking about some of the takeaways from those sessions. The purpose was to gather a sense of what the congregation wants to be. And it got me thinking about what is the future of Unitarian Universalism. One thing that bodes well for ERUUF's future is that the attendance at the session, I was greeted by people who were relatively new to ERUUF. Speaks to their sense of ownership and to the sense of responsibility that comes with being in a covenantal community. The question I had for the new members was, when you came to ERUUF, Did you find what you were looking for? Uniformly, their answers were positive. When I got to share my thoughts, I answered the question, what needs to happen to get us there? With a single word, growth. Sustainable growth in the number of active pledging members is the key to the future of ERUUF and of the denomination. We need parents bringing their children to RE, just the wonderful faces that we saw this morning. We need youth bridging to adult membership, and we need the energy of the young adults. We need diversity in every demographic, race, heritage, identity, everything. Growth is the engine that will drive us as we execute our strategic plans, and the fuel that will propel us into the future, into our dreams. Also active on a committee that is distributing information about Article 2, the rewrite of the UUA bylaws. Article 2 currently contains the 7 principles and the sources. In a sense, it defines Unitarian Universalism. The UUA bylaws require that Article 2 be a living document, changing over time to reflect not the past, but the present and the future of Unitarian Universalism. A new draft of Article 2 was just released and presented to the UUA board. For more information, please go to under the tab Discover on the in the ERUUF website and look for Reimagining UU Principles. And know that some things are still in flux. However, the commission drafting the changes has been consistent about replacing these 7 principles with values. The new draft, though, includes a covenantal statement which in effect makes the values functionally equivalent to the principles. Unwavering through this entire process is the overarching value of love. The future of ERUUF and of Unitarian Universalism both depend on people continuing to find here what they are looking for. I've started doing my own research, asking people I trust whether they identify as UU. The follow-up question is actually more important than their answer. What criteria did you use to make your determination? What does it mean to be a UU? The future of Unitarian Universalism rests on the answer to that question. How do we assure that the next wave of inquirers will find what they're looking for in Unitarian Universalism? How will our core value of love be manifested to a newcomer walking onto the ERUUF campus for the first time? To someone considering signing up for the Inquirers series or being invited to sign the membership book? My answer is based on a quote from Dr. Cornel West. Justice is what love looks like in public. When people arrive here searching, they need to see love in action. I believe the future of both ERUUF and of Unitarian Universalism lies in justice. It lies in compassion. It lies in meeting the spiritual, the human, and the transformative needs of all people. It lies in siding with love. Thank you.
As we enter this time of deepening through meditation and prayer, let your body rest where you are sitting in the ways which are most relaxing and comfortable. Perhaps, if you like, let your eyes lose focus or close, and let your body breathe. Spirit of life, source of love, this moment, as every minuscule moment before this moment, and every infinitesimal moment after this moment holds within it beauty and possibility that at times is hard to fathom, hard to conceive of what is even possible truly. And yet, that beauty and possibility is always there as we are slipping from moment to moment. We as individuals are constantly addressing the what and the why of showing up in our lives. What are the choices we make today? Is our spirit full, carrying us into joyful actions of community uplift, liberation, empowering ourselves and each other with transformative energy? Is our spirit somewhat depleted, faced with grief, sorrow, woe for events that have come to pass, grief that often shows our love for people and moments no longer here, or grief for possibilities that may not come to be? These are all part of our experiences. And as we move through this world and these experiences in community, may we lean into the hope of moving together, finding the path that we choose for this, our ERUUF community, coming together out of the hopes and possibilities we all hold, remembering that we may have different experiences of the world, and we still get to join together in covenant to imagine the what and the why of our collective movement into the future. In our community today, among the joyful experiences that we are holding is celebration from Rick and Georgie Searles at Rick's completion of chemotherapy for his leukemia, his journey on the road to recovery, and his hope to soon return to ERUUF in person. And among the sorrow and grief that we hold, among the griefs around the world, is the grief of Tyree Nichols' family after his unjust death in Memphis. May we continue to move toward transformed systems of living in this world so that tragedies like this need not occur. Holding these pains and excitements in our spirits, may we prepare to engage our journey through grieving challenges and discovering beautiful and possible moments and moments and moments together. Amen and blessed be.
Time keeps on slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Feed the babies who don't have enough to eat. Shoe the the children with no shoes on their feet. How's the people out there living in the street? There's a solution. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Ooh, fly like an eagle. Let the Spirit carry me. I wanna fly, oh, fly, fly right into the future.
Michael. Whew. So last year, on the 4th Sunday of January, this very Sunday, we were considering ERUUF's future together in a significant way. I had just completed a sermon that acknowledged that we were on a cusp of change and possibility, as you were about to enter into the voting process of determining whether or not you would choose to call me as this congregation's next lead minister. And needless to say, I was extremely happy when the overwhelming majority of you voted yes. A cherished memory that I shall always hold in my mind and heart with great delight was that after the vote was announced, I stood on this chancel floor in an empty sanctuary, except for a joyful staff and two good friends of mine, because we were not yet meeting in person in those still heightened COVID times. But I looked up at that video screen and saw page after page after page of ERUUFians, young and old, children and adults on Zoom, each in their own little square, moving or dancing to the song Happy by Pharrell Williams. John, play it now. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me that moment, because last year, none of you were here, but it was great to see you up there. I still remain happy, as I hope you are too. This does not mean, though, that I'm naive in thinking that we will not be without bumps along the way in the coming years, especially with respect to some of the great plans we're wanting to declare for our future, which I'll get to in a moment. It is instead my hope that among all that we choose to create, that we not forget to also create a grounding of joy, a wellspring of happiness that can sustain any bumps, difficulties, or trying times as we encounter them, as we surely will. I bring this up not as a romantic optimist, but as someone who engages in the cultivation of joy as a spiritual practice. As the Dalai Lama says, compassion and happiness are not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. So may our authentic happiness be a source and sign of our strength as a community. You know, after that election, friends of mine who are not UU have told me they have been so very inspired by our Unitarian Universalist polity and process for our congregation calling its own minister. I have been inspired too. Inspired that we've crossed an important threshold together that has ushered us into this new beginning. This new chapter of so much possibility for our beloved congregation. It has been a tremendous 12 months. Last year, thanks to the good and generous heart of the previous minister, the Reverend Deborah Kerr, I spent an unofficial beginning of my call working hard to oversee transitions so that we might get our new ministry off to a strong and active start. And here we are 1 year later, up to this very moment that I'm standing here with you now. Together, we are thinking and planning for a future we want to actively co-create and live into for the coming 3 years. And so I want to warn you now that this is a family conversation today, a bit of a wonky talk that might create a yawn or two. For those of you visiting, you'll get a peek behind the curtain at how we think about what we do. As many of you know, for the past 2 weeks, an invitation was extended to all members and friends who were interested to participate in planning ERUUF's future. And it was encouraging to see how many of you responded to that invitation. So what is it that we've been planning anyway? We focused on 5 key areas that have been of importance to the ministries of this congregation over the past several years, and which we are now seeking fresh approaches toward as we move beyond the pandemic time that began 3 years ago and provide our ministry now with our full energies, renewed time, attention, and imagination. There's a lot to be considered, a lot to be done, and we cannot do it all overnight. And we probably won't even be able to do it all in 3 years. But we have a lot of raw data to draw from, and to set priorities as we identify key themes that have emerged from our discussions. The areas we focused on were theory of change for our racial equity and inclusion work, religious education and exploration for our children, youth, and families, justice, finance and infrastructure. Daniel kept adding the word ice cream to that because just to get people to come to his group. And ERUUF beyond our walls and the larger denomination and the community. Some common intersectional themes emerged. In almost every area, people named an increased need for staffing to realize our long-term goals. There is also a great desire to interact with other congregations, both Unitarian, Universalist, and organizations in the greater Durham and Chapel Hill areas, to share our learning and resources, to learn from others, and to collaborate on activities and new ideas. There's an apparent need for new forms of communication so that more of you have a clearer sense of the wide range of activities in a congregation of this size. This was all underscored by the great many new ideas proposed that are actually already taking place at ERUUF. I've found myself appreciating, even with that, our consistency in what we want and how we believe we should approach things. And I'm also wondering about the information overload so many of us have and its impact on our capacity to take in even more information. Some have suggested that we bring back paper bulletins or programs to hand out on Sunday mornings. However, I remind you all that we are now a certified green sanctuary, an important designation we worked for several years to realize and one that we're committed to upholding. It's with this in mind that we've been exploring other means of communications that would have less of an environmental impact in getting information out to you. And remember, there is still the weekly e-news packed with information about what's going on across most of the ministries here. And so if you don't already do so, form a habit of looking for it on Friday mornings. And if you don't see it, it might just be in your spam, junk, or some other folder of your email account. In the theory of change area, the overwhelming majority of you believe that our racial equity inclusion, REI work, is vitally important, and many of you hold a vision of ERUUF as a more racially diverse and radically welcoming community with even higher levels of commitment and engagement related to REI. There is a desire to return to our collective REI learning while also becoming more actively engaged in the community beyond our walls, and for us to begin building relationships with Latinx, Indigenous, and Asian communities, in addition to the Black community. There is a great desire to move beyond tokenism and of the admission by some of hesitation in approaching this work for fear of doing or saying the wrong thing, and yet coming to terms about the possibilities of making mistakes and how humbling that all is. There are also some creative ideas about diversifying the day and time of some of our services and activities to appeal to a broader variety of demographics. And considering how are the children, people are generally pleased with the direction in which RE is going, and whole desire for everyone to see that children and youth are integral to the life of our congregation and that we are all committed to consciously growing lifelong UUs. There is a vision for a strong youth group and a desire to address how to give them opportunities for leadership here, as well as the capacity to engage with their peers beyond ERUUF and Unitarian Universalism in meaningful and informed conversations about world religions and types of spiritual and humanistic beliefs. Many held a strong desire to develop resources and staff and also volunteers, especially among those who do not have children, to participate in the RE program so that parents alone are not the majority of the program's teachers. There's a great deal of interest centered around the justice ministry at ERUUF, and folks would like to have an overarching and cohesive picture of the work of this ministry with a better understanding of how to get involved. Some have a vision of justice as a thread permeating throughout ERUUF and hold a vision of all ERUUFians participating in our justice work in some way, including opportunities for youth and families to be involved. There is a sense that our justice work must be intersectional and engage with cultural humility and with the knowledge of how to be in relationship with those in the community most impacted by injustice. There's a desire to foster long-term partnerships with other congregations and organizations around areas of mutual interest and concern, as well as the astute observation of the tension between individual passions here at ERUUF and ERUUF's overall potential impact if we held a collective annual goal that everyone was working toward. There was also the very creative idea that in addition to an annual monetary pledge, that everyone make an annual pledge of hours they'd be willing to dedicate toward ERUUF's justice work, as we did last year with the 2,500 Hours of Love campaign. So all this said with regard to justice, if you're interested in the justice work here, I invite you to save this date, Sunday, March 26th. Did I get that right? Okay, March 26th at 12:30 in the Fellowship Hall, there will be an all-congregation justice assembly designed to inform you about ERUUF's justice action groups and how you can get involved. And the Justice Ministry Council has indeed created their first annual vision of justice for the congregation to engage with, which they'll be sharing about with you very soon. In the area of our finances and infrastructure, folks want us, especially yours truly, to create a culture in which we more openly talk about our finances and money more frequently in order to nurture an understanding of the spiritual practice of generosity. That giving reflects our values and that this congregation belongs to all of us and each of us, and we each have a responsibility toward it. There's a desire for everyone to make a financial contribution in some way, and for everyone to feel good about the act of giving, no matter how much they give. That we would create education about the basics of church finance, personal finance, and how we might use finances to better serve the goals and values at ERUUF. And finally, that our pledged giving allows us to right-size the budget to match the size of our congregation. In terms of what we'd use those financial resources for, many had said that we ultimately want a budget that would support quality programs, a sufficient and well-compensated staff to meet our goals, that we fully meet our obligation to the broader Unitarian Universalist denomination as a fair share congregation, and that we have created the funding and reserves to maintain our buildings, grounds, and to keep up with ever-changing technology, and to make upgrades everywhere as they are needed. Ultimately, there is a vision that people are inspired to give, that we would exceed our pledge campaign goals, that we have ample reserves, and that our endowment has grown. That is the vision. And considering the world beyond our walls and the larger denomination and the community, many mentioned the need for greater communication and an internal go-to resource for information, and that ultimately there is a vision that we would all hold a greater awareness of what's going on both regionally and nationally within our larger denomination, and the importance of our involvement as a congregation in both receiving and giving, sharing our experiences, expertise, and resources with other congregations or the UUA, as well as learning from others and leveraging UUA resources rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. Overall, there is a sense we can be a catalyst for change, not only in our world of Unitarian Universalism, but also within the larger community. So, in addition to the sharing of all these wonderful ideas and planning our future, and there are still many more, it got me to wondering about something that I always think about, and that is Why have we chosen to belong here specifically and do what we do here in community? Some of this wonderful energy that we generate here can take place in other spaces as well, but we decide to do those things here. I met with someone back in the fall who said to me quietly, yet passionately, that he deeply believed that a community such as ours needs to exist for people. And it is the motivation, and that is the motivation for his being here and for all that he does here. I was deeply moved by his conviction. Member Eric Thomas, one of the leaders of the non-theist group here at ERUUF, wrote this lovely song that he performs sometimes called Church-Like Place. Some of the lyrics say, get up Sunday morning, could decide to stay home and maintain a leisurely pace. Instead, I get dressed and looking my best, come here to this church-like place. My community's here in fellowship, we're embracing the whole human race. Support for ourselves and justice for all, promoted in this church-like place. And so I ask you now, why are you here? You don't have to answer me, but just think about that. For some of you, it is distinctly spiritual. But in our pluralistic religious community, I think for all of us, it is about being in community. But see if you, in your own mind, can get even more specific than that about your personal why. And once you know what your why is, begin to be it, to act upon it. Because I hope that no one is making a suggestion that we would not also be willing to act upon. Why are you here? And what would make your heart happy to bring into being as we now usher ERUUF towards its new future? And in a year from today, I'm imagining that we'll be fully living our future and bringing into being the results of all our planning. We will take action while also remaining consciously present to whatever the moment is that we are in, allowing our hearts and minds to be open for what might emerge that we have yet to imagine, yet to think of, or even consider. And so may we set our hearts and our sights on the horizon that beckons. May it be so, my friends. Amen and Ashe. And so we all, as I've just alluded to, in order to make all of this happen here as a community, it does require something of us. It requires our time, it requires our talent, and it requires some of our treasure. And so as the greeters come forward, we will take up this morning's collection. And if you don't have cash or a check on your person right now, go to ERUUF.org and hit give, and you may do so online. And so we would go to our offertory.
All right, now, y'all might know this one, and I'm going to ask your help singing it a little bit later. Oh, yeah. Hey, ain't no stopping us now. We on the move. Ain't no stopping us now. We got the groove. One more time. They say, ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move. Yeah, yeah. Ain't no stopping us now. We got the groove. Oh, yeah. There's been so many things that held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know it, we've got a long, long way to go, And where we end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. We're putting ourselves together, polishing our back. If you ever been held down before, I know you won't let no one hold you down anymore. So don't you let nothing stand in your way, no, no. Said I want you to listen to every word she say, every word she say. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move, yeah, yeah. Sing with me if you want to. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the good, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's hear him sing, Kate. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move. Sounds so good. Come on. Yeah, yeah. Last time. Everybody. Ain't no stopping us now. One more time, just because it feels so good. Yeah, yeah. Say, ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right here. Ain't no stopping us now. We got the groove. Oh yeah. Thank you, thank you.
We give thanks for all of the gifts of our beloved community. And yes, there ain't no stopping us now. We are on the move. And I will turn it over to Wendy, who will lead us in our closing hymn.
Please rise, embody your spirit, and join me in singing Blue Boat Home, number 1064, in the teal hymnal.
Words on my desk.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue
And so our closing words this morning are from Eric Thomas in A Church-Like Place. And one of the verses say, "We consider issues of morality, justice, wealth, class, and race, standing together in solidarity, united in this church-like place. We think about things that matter in life, the issues that all people face. Our mission is nutrition of the human condition. We all flourish in this church-like place." May it be so, my friends. Go in love and go in peace. Ashe.